So now that we've learned how we're going to experiment and solve experiments and solve problems in science, which is everything of science or everything of life, we're going to learn about biology, okay? And we're going to introduce what we're going to be covering the whole year in this class. So let's define it first. What is bio? Life. Bio is the root word for life. And a lot of times in science, if you break down the words, you notice that vocabulary is a big deal because root words in science come from Latin and they have meaning.
Logi means study.
Good. Logi means study, and then we reverse it, and biology is the study of life. We're going to study life from here to here. Anybody know what I'm referencing here? From the smallest, how small? Microscopic small, good. So we're going to study life that we actually have to look at in a microscope in order to see it. Sometimes we even have to look at it on prepared slides that have been enhanced 100,000 times because the organism is so small we really can't even see it with our microscopes. All the way to global size, good. So we're going to study life inside of Earth and its interaction, hopefully, with Earth and everything inside of it. So you don't have to know this on the test, but here's how we're going to cover the class. We're going to talk about how we experiment. We're going to talk about molecules and chemical reactions. That's Unit 2. Then we're going to talk about cells, everything about cells, parts of the cell, how cells reproduce, how cells make energy, how cells are part of a huge function of living things. Then we're going to start life, and we're going to start from, again, microscopic. So we're going to start with bacteria, and we're going to go all the way to mammals, and then we're going to talk about the functions, and in between there, we're going to try to talk about the environment, okay, somewhat, in between all those units. It's not its own unit. So that's bio, from root all the way down for the whole year. When we start studying life, we're going to start studying life in a specific order, okay? Because all life, one of the major characteristics of life is that there's organization within each living thing. So what's the smallest teeny weeny sign of life? So I'm going to give you molecule, but there's something smaller than that. Atoms, good. Here's how you want to study this. Atoms, if you want to define it, because you won't remember, put is the smallest particle of life. Okay, you could say, or smallest part of life. If you move on to molecule and you want to define it, here's how you would define it. Atoms combine to form molecules. Okay? So as we progress down this list, the definition is just going to include the previous term. So atom, smallest sign of life, molecule. Atoms combine to form molecules. So to clarify, an atom does not constitute a living thing. An atom is the smallest sign a living thing has in terms of the first level of organization, okay? If atoms combine, they form molecules. So in our body, we're living things, right? We have atoms and we have molecules. When molecules combine, what do they form? So I'm going to give you cell, but before cells,
Bacteria?
nope. Bacteria is a living thing. Who has atoms? Who has molecules?
Tissue?
That's after cells. That's one of them. So parts of a cell. Good job. So when molecules combine, they make parts of a cell, which are called organelles. When organelles combine, they form a cell. Yes? Cells combine to form tissues. When tissues combine, what do they form?
Organ?
Organs. When organs combine, they form organ systems. Organ systems combine to form? Yes. Now, I'm going to pause here for a minute, and I'm going to show you. Can this be an organism? Let's say we have all of this, but we don't have tissues, we don't have organs, we don't have organ systems. Can this be this? Yes. Okay? So the levels of organization get more and more complex depending on the complexity of an organism. A human being has atom, molecules, organelles, cells, tissues, organs, organ systems. We're organisms that have all of those. Bacteria only has these. Bacteria doesn't even have this. It only has one. It's one cell that's made up of organelles, only a little bit of them, that comes from molecules, that comes from atoms. Okay? So an organism can be as simple as this. Some organisms stop here. Some organisms stop, yes, okay? We just happen to be the most complex. Organisms that can reproduce fertile offspring are called, I always get, species are organisms that can produce fertile offspring. If you take all species and you put them in one area, they make up a good population. If you take different types of species or a group of populations and put them in a given area, they make up smaller. So us, our cat, our dog, and our fish make up what? A family, yeah. Nobody? I'll give you one letter and then everybody will know. Nope. Community, good. Sounds like one. They all kind of mean the same thing. Communities. So our dog, our cat, us, our fish, breathing air, drinking water, living together with the non-living components make up what? So us and our environment. What's that word? Yes. Ecosystem. And then all life on earth and all parts of earth make up the? What? Nope. It's part of it. Life means? What? No. That's study. Life means what? What's the root word of life? Bio. Parts of earth. Put it together. Biosphere. Good job. That was tough. So because we're only in semester 1, for this test, you need to know this order. And we'll worry about this order when we get to semester 2, okay? Because we're not even going to get to organisms or organs for a while. So atom, molecule, organelles. I promise you, this is the one you're going to forget. Organelles and tissues. Everything else makes sense. So maybe you could come up with like something. Archbishop McCarthy, organisms come together often. I don't know. I almost did it. You saw that? That was pretty good. All right, let's go. All right, so what makes up a living thing? So what does a living thing have to have? They have to be made up of at least one cell. Remember, it doesn't have to be cells. But an organism that's alive must have one cell. What else must they have? We just talked about it. What did we just talk about? We talked about organization. They must have precise levels of organization. Believe it or not, there's organisms that do not have a nucleus. What? Yeah. He didn't hear me. Did you hear me? Mr. Nucleus. There's organisms with no nucleus. I know. We'll get there. But they have a cell. Okay? They're called prokaryotics. Have you ever heard that word? Yes. Okay. No. What else must organisms have? They must be able to do what? Good. Air?
Oxygen.
That's not necessary. No.
Any type of gas.
I like it. They must be able to exchange gases. Let's say that. So they must be able to take in energy and use it. Okay? There's some molecules out there that are molecules of energy. We have to be able to take it in and use it, okay? We must be able to take in energy. And for us, that would be food, right? Food is our energy. Cells have their own chemical energy. It's not food, but they need it. We're not going to talk about that until later. What makes up a living thing? More characteristics. What must you be able to do? Grow. You must be able to grow, and that's guided by the reproduction of cells or the reproduction of your DNA in your cells, because that's what it takes to grow. What else must you be able to do? Reproduce. You must be able to make a new organism if you're a living thing. That's the definition of a species, being able to reproduce. What else? The last two. What is camouflage? A what? It's a hiding. Good. You must be able to adapt and evolve if you're going to survive as a population. So you must be able to evolve and adapt, which camouflage is exactly that. That's an adaptive trait in order to survive.
What's an adaptive trait?
Being small, running fast, having a long neck, everything, not having wisdom teeth. I mean, I could go on and on. Everything we have is adaptive traits. What's the last one? What is a plant doing here? Okay, so have you ever put a plant in your house and it's not near the window? What does the plant do?
Die.
Or it responds to stimuli. It literally, I have a plant, I'll take a picture of it. It's leaning towards the window like, hey, I know you're there. I need you. Okay, so organisms have the ability to respond to stimuli. How many of you thought one of the characteristics of life was organisms can move? That's going to be on the test, and that's not the answer. Okay? Organisms can do what I just said. Responding to stimuli is kind of like a movement, but there's two kingdoms of organisms that cannot move. So not all organisms move.